Okay, stop it. Get some help. Hey, I'm sick. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite TV shows. And today I'm going to be doing a review on the sophomore season of 13 Friggin' Reasons Why. It is a show about a girl named Hannah who was originally an innocent, nice girl until she lost a few friends and a couple of boyfriends and she gets raped. And then she killed herself, which is a very sad and tragic story, but executed in a very shallow and cheesy way. Season 1 mainly revolves around Hannah's suicide and how everybody's responsible for it, and how her death haunted everybody and how everyone knows her pain despite the shitty dialogues and the boring plot points. I gave season 1 the benefit of the doubt, more like the benefit of being generous, and I thought season 1 was mediocre, and that's it. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Wow. But then of course, since season 1 is just oh so controversial, they now have to make a season 2 to get more views, and they have gone off the books. So they're gonna have to come up with some new storylines, and as expected, most of them suck. First off, we have episode 1, the first Polaroid, and it's a total bore. Like nothing happened. 5 minutes after finish watching the first episode, I felt like I didn't really watch it. It takes place 5 months after last season's finale, which totally ruined the cliffhanger at the end of season 1, where we suddenly hear the news that Alex tried to shoot himself. Whoa. And then on this episode, he's totally cool. In fact, he was so nonchalant about his suicide attempt. He was like, hey, you want to see my suicide note? You want to see my suicide note? Hey? And people were like, whoa, get that out of here. That's illegal. Anyway, nothing had really changed. Zach is a good guy now, but he still hung out with Bryce, and they were cool to each other. So I guess I really don't know what the hell was going on. It's like the show's trying to pull off this, wait, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy though, kind of thing, but just totally fails. Mr. Porter hated Bryce and wanted to hurt him, which is cool in concept, but that also made Mr. Porter an even flatter character. Meanwhile, Bryce is your average high school rapist villain who's wearing a fucking baseball jersey all the time. It's like it's a part of his body now. And the whole episode was voiced over by Tyler, and damn, it's so uninteresting. The whole trial thing is so boring, and still the dialogues are pretty shite. No, she wasn't just texting, she was sexting. And Clay was also now the boyfriend of Sky, who's this quirky, angsty, self-hating art student who doesn't have anything to do with the story. And they wanted to fuck, but they were like, so do you want to try this out tonight? So like, are you ready? Like, But then at the same time, Clay would see these hallucinations of Hannah all the time, which is a stupid depiction of schizophrenia, if that was the point of all this. Episode 2 starts off with Clay and his vision of Hannah. Clay was like, Hannah, what are you doing here? And Hannah was like, I don't know either. Courtney's on trial and she came out as a lesbian, which is, I guess, kind of inspirational and educational. But that's pretty much the extent of it. And then at the end, Sky tried to jerk Clay off in front of his parents, then rushed to his bedroom, then tried to have sex, and then suddenly they can't anymore and they argued. Next thing you know, Sky's in a friggin' ambulance. And it just ends with Clay screaming and his vision of Hannah. Yeah, nothing about this episode is remotely interesting. Mr. Porter could have been an interesting character. He had so much potential, yet they have to make him do the same things over and over and over and over again. Episode 3 is titled The Drunk Slut, and it's still very frustrating to go through an episode. Again, this episode's full of unimportant scenes, sloppy dialogues, and the pacing's kinda off. They managed to slip in 20 seconds of an irrelevant scene, as if the episode isn't already long enough. This time, Jessica's on trial, and once again, she basically reiterated what happened last season. And she always talked about sexism in school, how boys could choose their identity, but girls couldn't. And once again, she talked about And once again, she talked about how secrets, how they would destroy lives, how much they suck, you know the drill. And somehow students could stick up photos in the back of a classroom written, "Who would trust a drunk slut?" Again, we know Jessica's secretly being targeted. Okay, it's not that hard to see. But the real question is, how come not a single teacher or student take those photos down? You can't stick things onto the walls at school without the teacher's permission. Am I right? Oh wait, it's the USA. It's a land of the free. Oh right, the teachers wouldn't care. Oh. What's also really dumb is that the show often makes us ask a question and then solves the question, or more like answers the question, like 4 seconds later. Like when Alex looked at Jessica's death threat, basically a target practice paper thing. Next shot is literally Scott pointing a finger gun at Alex. So let me guess, Scott did it. Also, that scene when Clay asked Jessica where was Justin, and Jessica was like, I don't know. And the next shot was Clay looking at a postcard sent by Justin. And again, the trial is the most boring bit. Between the stupid lawyer woman and Jessica struggling to tell the truth, it's the very pointless scenes about Sky or the parents. Sky being always messed up and the parents are always dumb and shallow. Also, Tyler somehow joined a gang of punk rock friends. What are we, in the 80s now? And even though they're cool and all, this is so unrealistic, it's actually a little bit funny. I like that there is more of Justin and Marcus, but still, the episode's kind of frustrating to watch. Over to episode 4, the second Polaroid. The show finally decided to spend 30 more seconds to follow up with that dumb Polaroid storyline, which hasn't progressed at all at this point. Also, Marcus attends the trial this time and lied, so Tyler and his punk rock friends decided to prank him by blowing up pink goo at his face. I mean, it's kind of fun, but also kind of dumb that this prank is basically the climax of the episode. Episode 5 is titled The Chalk Machine. I guessed the title while watching the episode, and I was right. Friggin' chalk machine. And still, nothing important really happened on this episode. Ryan's on trial, and the Polaroid storyline has a tad bit more progression. There's a scene where Alex wanted to test if his penis was working properly, so he joined some sort of online chat with a webcam personnel, and it was kind of cringy, especially with the stupid accent. Oh, give me the... Even though I felt bad for Alex. Also, Tyler was playing punk rock in his room, not even heavy metal, let alone death metal. And his mom was like, nope, too angry, nope. And then we have episode 6 called The Smile at the End of the Dock, or something like that. Even though it's still a bore fest, it's slightly better than all the previous episodes. Zach was being testified on this episode, and he spilled some serious secrets that made everyone go, whoa, what the fuck? And yeah, people are overreacting. Zach and Hannah actually hooked up during the summer before Hannah died, and they smashed multiple times. It's a pretty bold storyline, even though the writers have successfully made sex super awkward and kinda boring. Also, that scene where Justin was in a hoodie walking into the school for an entire minute with intense music in the back, so unnecessary. Moving over to episode 7, the third Polaroid. Clay had to testify, but because he's stupid, the defense lawyer made him look stupid. Clay talked about the time he and Hannah tried drugs. And in the beginning of the episode, we get this weird animated scene of Clay and Hannah just tripping balls, and it feels like it's such an unnecessary and dumb placement. Clay's dad was really pissed for some reason, even though he was a cool dad like an episode ago, so even Clay's dad, my favorite character, suddenly did a 180 degree for no reason. And it was Alex's birthday, which was cool, but of course he had to ruin the party by arguing with everyone and then throwing a temper tantrum. It's just a shit show. And of course the writers have to write about this. The worst birthday party ever. The next episode is titled The Little Girl for some reason. So Clay published Hannah's tapes. Yeah, he did that. He just did the dumbest decision on TV ever. So everyone in school knew about it and carnage happened. which would have been kind of entertaining if it weren't for the fact that all this was happening because of Clay being stupid. Sky finally returned and she needs to leave. Again, okay. And Marcus was blackmailed to say that Bryce is a rapist in public, so he did that, and then nothing happened after that. It's like the writers don't know that consequences follow an event rather than event just happening and that's it. Next episode, we have episode 9, The Missing Page, and I checked IMDb. It's got a rating higher than 8.0, so it's gotta be good, right? Not really. I say the first half of the episode is still pretty boring. Of course, the principal is a douchebag, because the authority is always bad, am I right? And again, Clay's dad did a 180 degree for no reason, so now my favorite character is Cyrus the punk rock boy, who's not realistic at all. And then there are a few minutes of Justin looking for things, a few weird jarring cuts with Jessica, Alex playing shooting video games like it's such an abomination to teenagers' mental health. However, there are things I like in this episode. Mr. Porter had to testify and he announced that Bryce raped Hannah. What a legend. Now Bryce's girlfriend, Chloe, was scared shitless. And Mr. Porter also cried a lot in that trial, got some emotional scenes. And then in another scene, Clay got blitzkrieged by a bunch of boys, just beating him up and then darting off in an instant, which is quick and confusing. But that also made Clay join the punk rock boys, because why not? Other than that, we also get some more of Tony and his boyfriend, and that storyline never progressed anywhere. Episode 10 is called Smile, Bitches! And it's an episode that had the potential to be good, but lost it. So Clay and his team found out about the clubhouse where Bryce's gang hangs out, so Clay decided to send Sherry into the clubhouse with them like it's some sort of spy movie now. And how come did Bryce completely forgot about Sherry being a secret hater? There's this scene where Jessica's friend Nina suddenly does a 180 degree and started to be really bitchy about things instead of being really kind. The stupidest part about this episode is Tyler. Cyrus and his gang attended a punk rock concert, and in that scene, before the band even started playing the guitars or the drums, they're already headbanging. As if all the punk fans are possessed by this rebellious, demonic spirit, or something. But what's stupider is actually Tyler suddenly deciding to scold Cyrus's sister to distract them from the fact that he wet his pants, even though he could have just played it cool and shaken it off, which resulted in Cyrus kicking Tyler out of the gang. Over to episode 11, Bryce and Chloe, and it's the only episode that I think has more hits than misses. The only thing I dislike about this episode is that sometimes we would get these weird, jarring flashback snippets, and sometimes we would get this dumb slow-mo shot, but other than that, it's not a boring episode, not at all. Bryce had to testify, and of course he lied, and so on. The next day, when he went back to school, Justin confronted Bryce and Bryce punched him. Bryce's men helped Bryce and hit Justin. Clay joined the fight. Tony joined the fight. Zach came out of nowhere and joined. Alex saw it and joined. And then Cyrus and his punk friends were like, fuck yeah! And they joined. And even Mr. Porter started fighting the coach. And the school hallway literally turned into a fucking battlefield. A fucking war zone. And while it's not very realistic, it's still entertaining nonetheless. It just needs a little more grit and a bit of a climax to be more entertaining. Then, other than that, Jesse and Clay and Justin found out that Chloe was in one of the Polaroids. Bryce was the rapist and she was testifying. And as it turns out, Chloe didn't have the courage to speak up either, so that's kind of frustrating. And I like that the show is making us root against Bryce. The ending is pretty great as well. Clay went mad and tried to go to Bryce's house and shoot him with a gun. Then Justin showed up and tried to stop him, and then he wanted to kill himself, but that was a bit of a tense moment. Episode 12 is called The Box of Polaroids or something, and it's also fairly entertaining compared to other episodes. Justin got to testify, but it didn't really go anywhere. There's this scene where Scott, one of Bryce's gang members, decided to do a sudden 180 degree for no reason, which is confusing. Also, Mr. Porter was fired, but he's just really okay with it, so I guess that's settled. Okay, at the end, the episode has a sad ending, which I'm not pissed about because it's only realistic. But then again, this random weird thing happened out of nowhere and we get no explanation whatsoever. And also, the episode started with a flashback when Justin and Bryce were kids, and damn, the acting by the children are bad, and I'm 100% sure that's not how kids talk. But other than that, I guess the scene where Jessica spoke up about her incident is kind of brave and inspiring. Then at the end, we have episode 13 is titled Bye, so I guess it's gonna be some really emotional, epic finale, right? Nope, not really. Nope. For the most part of the episode, it's pretty boring. It's basically all the characters' new lives a month after what happened on episode 12. And they're either still talking about Hannah, oh man, the nostalgia, oh, or they're just talking to each other about some normal stuffs. And overall, this episode feels warm, it feels happy, and it feels like a satisfying conclusion to season 2. People had new haircuts. They're moving on. And then all of a sudden we get this super violent and graphic scene out of nowhere, which is more confusing than it is disturbing, even though it's leagues more disturbing and graphic than the 2 rape scenes in season 1. But also, it feels like lazy writing to me. It just happened out of nowhere. And then it ultimately led to an ending where it's supposed to be a cliffhanger, but it just really ends up anticlimactic and not satisfying at all. So yes, this is the most unnecessary episode ever, with the most unnecessary turn of events, and I'm giving a spoiler alert. So yeah, at the beginning, Tyler's back and he did a total 180. He's a happy person now. He understands that communication is important. Then out of the blue, Montgomery and his team popped up out of nowhere and banged Tyler's head onto the bathroom sink, forced his head into a toilet seat, and then basically raped him with a broomstick. Yeah. That is way more graphic and violent than any other scenes on the show, and it's really just unnecessary. And then in the next scene, Tyler does a 180 again and decided to shoot up a school dancing party, guns blazing, even though reporting it to the cops, to Alex's dad, is obviously his best option. And also, Bryce showed up at that dance party for some unknown reason, even though he had already transferred to another school, so I don't know what the hell's going on. And also, Jessica made out with Justin while dating Alex, so I guess she's cheating? And at the end, Tyler arrived and Clay convinced him not to shoot them up, so Tyler didn't, and Clay decided to hold onto his gun and put the blame on himself. Yeah, that's... what? Which is just really, really dumb. Why can't he leave the gun in Tony's car when Tony picked Tyler up? And why can't he just tell the cops Tyler left? Why did Tony even pick him up in the first place when he has his own car? Nobody knows. So yeah, overall, 13 Reasons Why Season 2 is pretty much as bad as I have expected. The entire show, the entire 13 episodes, all the scenes in it are either boring or doesn't make sense at all. There are some plot points that are being repeated over and over and over and over again, and it's just really washed down, watered down, and it's not interesting anymore. It just gets stale and stagnant every time the plot point repeats itself. However, I have to admit there are some good scenes in Season 2, like that fight scene on episode 11, or that scene when Jessica told the cops that she was raped, and Mr. Porter crying during trial, yeah. But other than that, the entire Season 2 just feels like a barren wasteland, full of unnecessary and irrelevant plot. And let's talk about the characters too. They are super drab and super cliche. Of course, when you go into a high school, there's this rich, bully, rapist guy. There's the awkward, angry guy. There's the hot girl. There's like a gang of boys. There's another guy. And it's just so cliche, so drab, and so unrealistic as well. I am currently studying in a high school right now, in this time in my life, and I don't feel relatable while watching the show. Not at all. I feel 0% relatable. And the only good characters are, I guess, Clay's dad, if he didn't turn 180 degree for no reason. And I also kind of like Mr. Porter, even though he didn't really do anything. I also kind of like Cyrus, the punk rock boy, but also He's just totally unrealistic. And what also pisses me off about the show is that it misrepresents mental health. This show is about depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, PTSD, and also some malfunctions in the human body. And things just happen. Things just happen, and the writers didn't tell us the effects that these things have on these characters. We are left with the events without any effects or consequences or whatever. So it's not a show about mental health, really. It's just about what happened. And yeah, the plot goes nowhere. It lacks creativity. And there are a lot of useless storylines that really didn't do anything to the main theme of the plot at all, like Sky, who showed up at the very beginning and then popped up out of nowhere in the middle of the season. She basically does nothing. And then Alex's malfunctioning penis storyline also isn't really that important, I guess. And also Tyler wetting his pants, also Nina and her past. In fact, pretty much all the new characters they've added to Season 2 is pretty unrealistic and unrootable and unrelatable. And bland and really, really flat. So yeah, 13 Reasons Why, I just find it really frustrating to watch, to go through just an episode. And the ending is totally unnecessary. Like, you could have just ended off at episode 12 with a bit of a climax sprinkled at the end. It would have been fine. But no, you have to make this extra episode where this thing happens. So yeah, and apparently they are gonna make a season 3. And I don't look forward to that, ever. But if the ratings for season 3 is even worse than season 2, maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll watch it and review it and tell you how much it sucks. But yeah, with all due respect, I respect the actors, the actresses here. I respect everyone behind the camera, in front of the camera. I respect all the writers and producers and directors of 13 Reasons Why. But clearly, this show is just not good. It's just not good. It really goes nowhere. It just feels like a really flat, bland, repetitive, boring high school story that no one can relate to. So yeah, my favorite episode is episode 11, and my least favorite might be the last one. And I'm giving 13 Reasons Why Season 2 a 13 out of 53. Have you watched 13 Reasons Why Season 2? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you like it, hate if you hate it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. And also, this is just my opinion, so chill out, okay? Chill the fuck out.